name is Pete Docter. I'm the director of Inside Out. Inside Out is about an 11-year-old girl, but actually she's the setting, because inside of her head are her emotions. Well, in her case, we have 5 emotions that help her deal with everyday life: anger, fear, sadness, disgust, and our hero in the movie is joy. The story started because my daughter, who was about 11 as we started on it, she was changing quite a bit, and going from being a goofy little funny active kid to being a little more quiet, a little more serious as an adult. And that made me wonder, I wonder what's going on in her head, you know? That change, what causes that? Well, the thing that it feels like to me, just reflecting on growing up, is that there is a sense of loss. This protective bubble and innocence that exists only in childhood that goes away and it can't come back. Being a kid, when you look back at it, is pretty easy. But as an adult, life gets really complicated, and there are all these social pressures. Did I wear the right clothes? Did I say something stupid and now that person doesn't like me? And that's what we got to talk about in this film. We started by doing a lot of research, and the trick with this was, depending on which scientist you talk to, you get different answers about how many emotions there are. Some will say 4, others say 27, I think was the most we heard. So we tried a bunch of different characters, but we really reduced it down to the emotions that affect the story that we were trying to tell the most directly. We started by kind of thinking and using language associations, like I feel blue is something we say in English when you're feeling sad. And we did thousands of drawings. Sadness is more like a blob or a tear, and she just kind of... Joy, we felt, was like a star, an explosion. She's just all about energy and outward directed. You know, anger is like a square. He's just trying to keep it all together so he doesn't explode. Fear is like a raw nerve. He's very angular, especially his elbows and his nose and everything. Disgust ended up being like a stalk of broccoli. Kids don't like bitter tasting foods. They like sweet. So broccoli is something that when you feed them to kids, they're like, ugh, ugh. And disgust was very difficult to design because for a long time we couldn't figure out if she should be disgusting or disgusted. In other words, does she herself look gross, or does she just recognize what's gross in the world? Of course, that's the way we went. She's very elegant, she wears very fashionable clothes, and she's very quick to judge other people who, ew, where did those shoes come from? Oh, I can't. We tried to think about, okay, as a 3-year-old, what's really important to you? And what are the things that are specific to that age that sort of go away? And we had this idea of an imaginary friend. Bing Bong is sort of like an out-of-work actor. He is desperate to get back in to have another job so that he can have his comeback. This film, the concept allowed us to show you things that everyone's familiar with, but no one's actually seen before. So we get to explain why songs get stuck in your head, or where that weird dream came from, or why can't I remember that guy's name, you know, all this. So we started just by making a list. Long-term memory, dream production, there's even things like stream of consciousness. We usually started design by trying to find something similar to it. Like in the case of dream production, of course, our analogy was that it's almost like a Hollywood studio. So we looked at some really cool footage and images from the 1940s Hollywood, you know, these massive sound stages and camera cranes and setups and sets, backlots. We initially paired joy with fear. The reason for that was I thought, well, I know for me in junior high, growing up, fear was a big driver, caused me to act a lot in certain ways based on fear. But in the end, fear didn't really have what we needed for joy to learn from. And in the case of this film, the thing Joy really doesn't understand is sadness. Like, why would you want to feel sad? Why would you want your kid to feel sad? I don't see the point of that, you know? Sadness is the one that nobody understands. Everybody just is trying to get rid of at the beginning. But ultimately, she's kind of the hero of the picture, you know? In the long run, of course, Joy comes to learn that sadness is a very crucial part and necessary. Sadness, ultimately, I think, is a real connector. It has the potential of bringing people together. What we learned in doing research on the film is that every one of these emotions has a very good reason for being there. So the film really got to explore that and hopefully dramatize that, bring it to life so that you can start to understand how that all works.